Our McKinnon and Harris team, who's lucky enough to be here this week from our Richmond workshop, and our team here in the LA showroom are honored to be hosting all of you this morning for this fabulous event with Milieu Magazine. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for today's program, Leslie Newsom-Rasco. Leslie has an extensive background in art and design, completing the Sotheby's Decorative Art Education Program in London, as well as postgraduate study of art in Europe and Southeast Asia. Leslie helped launch Veranda magazine with her mother, Lisa Newsom, and last year, she was thrilled to assume the role of interiors editor for Milieu, the new home and garden magazine founded by noted Houston interior designer Pamela Pierce. Welcome, Leslie.
Good morning. Thank you, McKinnon and Harris, for hosting us in this beautiful venue. And thank you, LCDQ LA, for producing the most dynamic design event in the country. It's so fun. I just love it. The two designers we have with us today, the fabulous Nikki Haslam and Nathan Turner, are very different. They make their homes on opposite continents, and their backgrounds are unrelated. Nikki Haslam is a very British Eton grad, raised on a bucolic estate in southeastern England by his diplomat father and aristocratic mother, a goddaughter of Queen Victoria. While Nathan is an all-American Northern California baby with a brood of siblings and a love of the outdoors and football, a family business.
Just a California hillbilly.
Different as they are on the surface, they aren't quite as far apart as you might think. After some digging, I've come up with the top 5 ways Nikki and Nathan, Nick and Nate for short, are similar. I have some audio visuals. And this is what I didn't want Nikki to get offended by. We have Nick and Nate. Nick and Nate. And they're holding their wonderful book that is available for signing after the show. Here we go. So we're going to go through the Nick and Nate top 5. Number 5. Believe it or not, Nick and Nate are rough and ride-em cowboys. Nikki owned an Arabian horse farm in Arizona, and Nathan grew up on a cattle ranch. Who knew? Number 4, Nick and Nate are consummate entertainers. They never met a party they didn't like, and both have hosted many, many affairs to remember. Hunting parties, Indian parties, beach parties, New York parties, royal parties. They are the party people. Number 3, Nick and Nate are inveterate travelers, flying far and wide for their clients, yet would travel regardless to quench their curiosity about the world. They have seen it all and are still seeing it. Number 2, Nick and Nate possess a boyish charm that draw people to them. Celebrities, artists, writers, actors, musicians, and heads of state are putty in their hands. Luminaries want to be near them and be like them. They share an important trait, charisma. And number 1, if authenticity is defined as the degree to which one is true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, then both Nikki and Nathan have it in spades. They create spaces and events that are livable, memorable, and infused with the touch of themselves. They have mastered the art of authenticity in design and, more importantly, in life. They are doing it their way and having a ball. With the Nick and Nate Top 5 show now complete, let's learn a bit more about these design superstars. We're going to start with Nikki. Nicholas Haslam was born in Buckinghamshire, England. At age 7, he was confined to a bed with polio, therefore his early education was filled with American musicals and grown-up conversation. After winning painting prizes at Eton, he went on to revel in the adult world of fashion, theater, and art. A visit to the United States with the photographer David Bailey and model Jean Shrimpton landed him a job with American Vogue under the inspiring Diana Vreeland. During his years in New York, Nicky enjoyed a diverse group of friends, including Cole Porter, Andy Warhol, and Baby Jane Holzer, which he actually discovered. As the youngest art director in the country of Show magazine, Nicky commissioned photographers such as Diane Arbus. He edited a legendary issue of Harper's Bazaar with Richard Avedon, the cover featuring Jean Shrimpton's winking eye. You know that one? Right there. Yearning for rural life, Nicky bought a ranch outside Phoenix, Arizona, and for 5 years was a cowboy, breeding Arabian horses. He also worked in Los Angeles as a photographer for writer and film producer Dominic Dunn, simultaneously decorating for friends such as Natalie Wood. In 1972, he returned to London and established a full-fledged international design company, NH Designs. Since then, he has worked in countries all over the globe, designing rooms for the likes of Brian Ferry, Ringo Starr, Rupert Everett, and Mick Jagger, and parties for the Prince of Wales and Sir Evelyn de Rothschild. Nicky's work has been in all the leading design magazines. He is a frequent writer for the New York Times Style magazine, London Evening Standard, and World of Interiors. He's a contributing editor for British Vogue and Tatler, and his NH Design blog is one of the most widely read on the internet. And he's a fabulous lounge singer to boot. I'm gonna try. Nicky's books include his memoirs, Redeeming Features, Sheer Opulence, and Follies to Grandeur, a book about his country house in Hampshire. His fabulous new book, A Designer's Life, is available for signing today, and it is great. And that's Nicky. And now on to my friend Nathan. A fourth-generation Californian, Nathan Turner grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area surrounded by a large extended family. Deeply rooted in his California heritage, he spent many weekends at the family ranch riding horses, raising cattle, and cooking sumptuous meals. Home is where Nathan's taste for adventure began, something he expresses through his travels and eclectic lifestyle. After graduating from St. Mary's College in Business, Nathan lived abroad studying language, art history, and cooking. Upon moving to Los Angeles, Nathan successfully merged his greatest passions, design, travel, and food, into his eponymous shop, Nathan Turner. It's become a faithful resource for the country's leading designers and stylish people from coast to coast. An avid cook, Nathan equipped his store with a full kitchen for intimate dinners and parties on site. Nathan's design business is booming. His fresh interiors, products, and parties have been featured in major publications including Domino, Vogue Living, Elle Decor, House Beautiful, Food and Wine, C Magazine, and Veranda. Woo! I know, believe me, I'm already thinking we need to add that at the end. Don't you know? I'm thinking that. His many television appearances include The Today Show, Extra, and The Early Show. And in 2008, Nathan launched the Nathan Turner for Elite leather collection of upholstered furniture. He was featured on Bravo's $1 Million Decorators and is the style expert for Pottery Barn. His very successful book, American Style, is available for signing after the panel. And now let's hear from our experts. Okay, the fun part. Thank you. Ooh, I'm sorry, Nacho. You okay? Okay, yeah. As long as Nacho is.
He thinks y'all are clapping for him, so he gets excited.
So can Nicky see the slide? Okay, we're going to start with Nicky. This spectacular room is from years ago. It feels modern, sophisticated, and timeless, and would certainly hold up today. Who owned this room, and how did you change it, Nicky?
Well, it's a bit of a fate, really, because it was Cecil Beaton's, and somebody rented it, or owned it after Cecil died, and hadn't taken any of the stuff out of it, and he rented it to me, and it was Cecil's black walls and the furniture, the Jean-Michel Franck, and the Giacometti stuff that Cecil had put in with a decorator called Felix Harbord, who's a wonderful decorator, forgotten, and somebody should do a book on him. And anyway, when I arrived, the only thing the man who rented it put in with these ghastly pictures, I just covered them with squares of mauve silk. But it really is, it's Cecil's decor. I can't claim it. But it's got a lot of things. I still have those stools. They go with me everywhere, and I always use those white fur rugs. Nothing better than flocati, cheap as chips, and make everything nice.
And did he? What was did you own that sketch? That's
Yeah, I've still got that.
You still got that.
That's in the, you'll see it later on.
And is that a note from Cecil?
Yes, it's after one of the parties I gave.
And he
It
attended.
was about the last party you went to.
Yeah. That's right. So it's a great room, and it is still.
And who knew mauve silk could be so chic
Yeah.
and practical all at the same time?
And lit.
Yeah. What a room. I remember this room. We're going to have Nathan tell you a little bit about it, but its layered earthiness clearly harkens to Africa without being kitschy. Tell us a little bit about this room and how you were able to pull off this organic look, and tell us where it is.
This is at the Greystone Mansion up in Beverly Hills. And I loved this room because the ceilings were so insanely dramatic. And it was so masculine, and it seemed like the perfect room to turn into an old-fashioned, game room. Hello? Oh, I see. Hi there. And to turn into like an old-fashioned game room. My grandfather was a big gamesman, and he, loved the hunt. And I would go with him till about 13, and he was like, nah, maybe Nathan should stay home. And I'm just like, like when the deer, go down.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't that good at that part, about the killing part.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of pay homage to him and that sort of that uber masculine. He had a room, his game room with all the taxidermy and things, but instead of actually going out and killing critters,
right.
I used photography, and I found a couple great photographers that had these beautiful elephants and zebras and.
With a beard.
No, the opposite of a beard. A sexy supermodel named Amber Arbucci. She's a Victoria's Secret swimsuit model by day and a photographer by night. But she's really talented.
Yeah.
And I loved being able to create that feel without having to, have the big animals in there. And it's just about layering for me. It's different textures. I love textures. I love textiles, and I love antique textiles.
Do you remember a decorator called Jay Steffi here?
No.
He was wonderful in the sort of the 60s and 70s. And he used to tether live animals in his rooms.
Nope.
What kind? What are we talking about?
Giraffes and things.
Stop it.
Yeah.
It's very Tippi Hedren.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I told you to do a thing on him, Pam. He's fascinating, Jay Steffi.
What's his name?
Jay Steffi.
Jay Steffi,
He did the
okay.
Beverly Hills Hotel.
Oh, yeah. I thought
Years
it sounded
ago.
familiar, but okay.
Well, I love that this didn't look like a show house room. I mean, it was an incredible room.
Thank you.
Hello. Okay.
We've got tethered live animals too.
Exactly.
You're getting there, Jay.
I'm getting close.
Okay, these are actually 3 rooms. Here are 3 projects in Provence, Hampshire, and London. How important is it, Nikki, to imbue a sense of place in your interiors? And I also want you to tell us a bit about the room on the upper right that's your own.
Well, I've got a feeling that rooms imbue themselves. They tell you things. Rooms have terrific voices, and they tell you what to do. And even in a brand new space, it'll say, don't put me there, don't hang a picture here. You have to listen to the room. It's more important than the client or me, really.
That's a good observation. I like that.
And that house in the south of France, we completely remodeled and did the staircase. But it's almost my favorite bit of furniture, that.
Love that.
I copy it all the time now. And the far one, the bottom, the top one's my house in the country. And the bottom one is an art dealer called Hélène Amad, who has the biggest stock of art in the world. And he had these amazing Picassos and things.
That is amazing.
But he said, I don't want it all to look like a museum, just go out and buy junk art and put it among my great perfect art, and it was so refreshing to sometimes have that view of life,
Right.
and not to want everything to be. I'm rather anti-preciousness. I think we've had it. I can't bear bull cabinets and things like that anymore. I'm ghastly. I want everything to be ephemeral and unprecious. It doesn't matter if it goes, you know.
Yeah, I love that. And then the top is your own
Yeah,
in Hampshire.
it's been like that for 400 years.
Can't change that. That's quite enduring. Nathan, you started as a shopkeeper, but this clearly doesn't look like a shop. It could be a bohemian living room. How have you made your store an extension of your lifestyle?
Well, I mean, it kind of is my living room. Like, everyone laughs when they walk in my shop and I'm barefoot and in a bathing suit. And I just forget that there's a front door on Melrose Avenue and people can walk in. I'm very comfortable in my store. I always have been. It just feels like an extension of home for me. I have always had fun using it as a laboratory. It's really what taught me how to do what I do, and it allowed me to experiment with scale and color and all sorts of things. So I don't really have any rules, and I think that's because of the store. I was always playing and always trying different things.
Well, when I go in your store, I don't feel like I'm in a store. I'm just coming
exactly.
in to visit.
Yeah.
And I think everyone feels like they're special and they're just coming in to visit you. But it really, it's just kind of a new concept, and it's your
I mean, I could take it too far. The other day, Mary called me and she said, someone just called me and said, I just walked by Melrose and I think I saw Nathan asleep in the sofa in the window. I said, I wasn't asleep, I was texting. But I was laying in the sofa in the window.
Cute. Well,
So,
I love
you know, it could be a little weird to some, but.
Well, it's one of my favorite places to go. Nikki, this grand entryway is iconic and unforgettable. Please share with us the inspiration behind this store. Tell us more.
Well, I'm afraid it's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's Dorothy Draper, who I think is a genius. And I had a rock star, well, he's a rock star producer rather than a singer, who said I wanted a 40s American house with that period. So I just bravely ripped off everything from Dorothy Draper. She made those in plaster. Mine was so big they had to be made in wood and then made to look like plaster.
It's amazing.
They couldn't get plaster molds big enough. And the whole house is sort of that style.
In his book, there's a lot on that. It's a pretty incredible project, and it definitely does not. I mean, it looks like it's straight from the 40s. And
Yeah.
We'd never know. And it is. I read a little bit about him, and he is, you know, a rock pop producer, and it's not what you would expect. So it's very interesting.
We made a 4-bedroom house into a 1-bedroom house. That's always fun.
That sounds it.
It's better than the other way around.
Yeah.
Nathan, you clearly have a gift for entertaining. You studied cooking, and you know how to throw a good party. What made this lovely apple gathering so special? And then, 2, what are the key ingredients for an unforgettable party?
Well, it was special because you all shot it. We had a lot of fun with that. This is my parents' place, and it's, you know, any time I'm able to hang out with my family, and we're all kind of scattered around at this point, is always special. We try and pick one a couple times a year to get together, and to me, that's what entertaining is for. It's to be around the people that make you laugh or you want to be with, and I think that's the key to good entertaining. And I think that it's about surrounding yourself with interesting people and people that challenge you and people that, for me, the biggest thing is if you can make me laugh, like then you're in, like let's hang out. And being, as the host, you're setting the tone, and there's nothing worse than someone who's stressed out, or if you don't like to do it, don't do it. You know what I mean? You have to have a love of the gathering, and I do, and I love plucking different people from different parts of life and throwing them all together and seeing what happens.
I once asked my friend Lady Diana Cooper what the secret to a good party was. She said, too much to drink and a chocolate pudding.
It's just rather simple.
It's completely true.
Yeah, I agree. Nikki, this is one of my favorite rooms of yours, and it happens to be your own home. The space is handsome, fun, and eclectic, just like you. Why does this room work so well? And please tell us about these birds.
Well, really, this is what I was saying before. It's completely ephemeral. I wanted to look sort of fake, everything to be fake, and the fake paneling, which is obviously taken from the Berra paneling for Guerlain, what it was he did in the late 30s. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted it sort of white and clean and nothing valuable, really. It's all junk. It's bits I've had for years and years. The only thing I'd made was the sofa. Otherwise, everything I've had has been with me for years and years and years. The funny thing is that there's a naked portrait of me there.
Oh, I wish we could see that.
And it's a photograph, in fact. It was because Lucien Freud rang me up and said, I've got a chair that I need recovered. I said, okay, send it round. Into my office came the chair that Lucien's painted everybody in, that famous black chair. And it was all falling to bits. And I said, Lucien, I can't recover this. It's an icon. He said, oh, make another one. So I did, and then he had another one copied. And the chair is under that white chair with the green print on it.
Oh,
It's the
you're
original
kidding.
one.
Oh,
They
my
forgot
gosh.
it should be in the Tate. I mean,
That's
it's the
amazing.
most valuable thing I've got.
Oh my God. And those birds, tell me the bird,
The porcelain birds.
didn't you, I thought you covered them.
They're bird scarers from the local
Right.
hunt shop,
Yeah.
sprayed white.
Then you just paid them.
People say, where did you get this mice? That pair of mice, where did you get them?
I love that. I thought that was great. It's a great room. And is that you over the sofa too?
Yeah, that's the woman who painted the floor suddenly arrived in my office with a huge paper bag, and out of it came 4 squares with a portrait of me, and I think it's a work of genius.
So good.
She's Romanian or something.
Nathan, your Malibu beach pad conveys a laid-back California lifestyle to a T. Like Nikki's, the space reflects your personality. How do you go about creating this haven? How did you go about creating this haven on the beach for yourself? And what advice can you give designers in creating their own space?
Well, I'm just going to rip off Nikki because it's the easiest thing to do. But I think that what he said, though, earlier, you have to let the space speak to you. It's actually so true. And this was really simple. I cohabitate here with my boyfriend, Eric, who's a fellow Californian. And we have some similar styles. Nacho's he's had it. He's going underneath the stage now. He's done. He's done. We have similar styles, but, not exactly. So we kind of let the space speak for it and added a little bit of ourselves into it. This is a place that we both treasure, and it's our favorite place to unwind and relax, and we go out every Friday. So the last thing either one of us wanted is for it to be precious, or it's a beach house. It should have, there is sand and water and wet dogs, and it's all very accommodating to that lifestyle, and that's first and foremost. But with that said, you don't have to sacrifice style, and we just collected things that we love and that remind us of this spot. It's really that simple.
I love it. Well, now we have some design insider questions that I'd like to ask you. And I guess the first one is, what project, I'll start with Nikki, what project has been the most exciting or creative of your career?
I'm glad you started with me, because after hearing him talk about like Mick Jagger and all that stuff, mine's going to be really boring. I've had a lot of fun recently. In the past few years, I've gotten a lot of work in Asia. And it's something that I never expected. I never would foresee that I'd be spending so much time. It's not even a place I had traveled very extensively. So that's really exciting. I'm so inspired by the second I land in a place I've never been. Oh, do you want to take them? The second I land in a place I've never been, like my heart starts pounding. I'm so excited. And so the idea that I get to go to these places and work there, in Singapore and Indonesia, and just got back from the Philippines, that's something really great about what I do. And that's been fun taking me abroad and expanding.
And Nikki, what do you think has been the most exciting or creative of your career?
All things, the latest one, but I mean, that's the whole point of what we do.
Right. That's good.
It's such fun doing it that you have to love the one you're working on most at the moment.
Energized by what you're doing now.
I'm afraid I can't really. I suppose that house I did in London for the Russian woman, Kagalovsky, is the one that I'm proudest of, but it's not so why I'm not loving the next one too.
But I love that because you're always looking ahead, and it's the adventure of it.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it.
Yeah. It's just playing, really.
Right. Well, you play well. So as designers, we all make mistakes. What has been your biggest mistake, Nathan, on a job, and how have you corrected it?
Oh, God. Says the person that was just being yelled at by a client about 25 minutes ago. It was a friendly scream. There's so many, you know, I have to say, nothing major pops out in my mind, but, you know, if anyone ever, you know, acts like this is a seamless production, please. I feel like there's so many hands touching one chair between the fabric and the upholstery and a trim and this and that. Mistakes are bound to happen. And I always tell the girls in my office, it's not about the mistake. It's about solving it and figuring it out.
Right.
There's no dramatics in my office. There's
Right.
no screaming. There's no tizzy fits. It's just figuring, okay, this is where we are.
It's late.
How do we solve it?
Right.
And I think that there's so much of decorating as problem solving and sorting that part out. So there are mistakes all the time, you know.
By nature of what it is.
Yeah.
And Nikki, can you come up?
Well, I did one terrible mistake. I'd been to St. Petersburg, got very inspired by the Amber Room. And I had these Iraqi clients with a huge house in Eaton Square. And I wanted to do the dining room like the Amber Room. And I did these drawings of it, and there was all this wonderful amber paneling. And then we've had it painted by the Sansky's, the greatest painters in the world, all this amber. The client hadn't seen it. And I had the silver candelabra all the way around the ceiling lit up, and it looked absolutely astonishing, like the Amber Room, which is one of the greatest rooms in the world. And when I lit it all up and asked the client, he looked at it, I thought it would be wood. Oh. Furious. The whole thing had to be repainted.
Oh,
No.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. Okay, Nathan, what has been one of your most difficult situations in dealing with a client? And maybe that you already answered it, maybe not. I don't know. Or who is, well, you're not going to say who it is, but what situation has been a hard one?
You know, in just relation to a client and their own, I feel like when meeting with a potential client, I'm interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing me.
Yeah.
And at this point, I have a really good intuition with people. And touch wood, I'm like, I feel like I've brought in
The energy.
great collaborative people. It's not easy, but the key for me is, actually Eric taught me this, it's like you have to steer this ship. And then as I looked back, the biggest mistakes that I ever made was losing control. And it's not, you know, a crazy, you know, military style kind of control.
But that's why they hire you.
But it's to be the captain of the ship and keep it going.
Yeah.
And if I get a sense that they're not willing to let me do that, then I don't necessarily want to do it.
Well, I think, have you ever fired a client?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And is
Well, I
it
just dropped them,
just drop them?
Yeah.
And how about you, Nikki?
like one's friends. I think the biggest nightmare is when clients can't read plan, clients who can't remember what was discussed at the last meeting and want to see it all again and change that. Clients who listen to their friends, which is a nightmare.
Kiss of death. Yeah.
And worst of all, people who don't know what they like.
Coming. Eric, will you get nacho?
That don't know what they like.
People towns don't know what they like. They better have they have bad taste rather than having no taste. It's terrible.
The indecision.
They haven't got a clue. You know,
The
They don't know whether it's nice or nasty.
Right,
You know.
right.
But,
Talking about travel, you're both world travelers. What has been your greatest adventure, Nathan, or what place has been the most inspiring?
For me, it's always that place I just was. Like, I just had this great trip to the Philippines, and now I'm
Which we all
obsessed
saw from Instagram.
with
It's
the
fabulous.
Philippines and the textiles and all the basket weaving and the natural things that the resources they have. It really, for me, is about that newest place. I do have a tendency to love places that are kind of, that have like a multicultural history, like Sicily or Mexico City, where you see the layers of different cultures that have habitated there or that have conquered, and I love that. I love, like Sicily, you see it in the food and the people's faces and everything from like Normans to the Moors. Those places are always really inspiring to me.
And you, Nikki?
I think it's Istanbul. The first time I went to Istanbul, I was just astonished, and I go back all the time. And I like that sort of mixture of Christian and, well, I prefer Christian architecture to Eastern architecture. I can't go to the East because those creepy crawlers, I don't know how you can bear it. Oh, God, the things you find behind the wash basin in a Thai hotel. And Australia, forget it.
Oh yeah, they'll eat you there.
Oh, but I think it's Istanbul and that mixture of Christian and Muslim art. But I don't really like much after Istanbul.
Yeah.
You can have the rest of the world. I like Europe. I like Europe.
Well, that's,
Or America. Same thing.
thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, I think that we've really enjoyed our time with these wonderful designers, and please do pick up a book. They're great books, and we really thank you for being here.
Yeah,
So
thank
thank you.
I think we should also thank Pam for producing this wonderful magazine, which is revolutionising. And McKinnon and Harris, this ravishing room and their beautiful furniture, which I want every scrap of.